Hey, it's the Right Rican, and let's just get right into the story. Why is it this so important that a group of progressives, they say Democrats, and then they say liberal George Soros funded group, but it's progressives. Okay, why is it a big deal that a group of them have bought 18 radio stations, Latino radio stations? Excuse me. It's because Latinos listen to. That's the only place where Latinos get any sort of conservative, um, Latino based um, content, because there is no um, Fox News for Latino conservatives. There isn't. Univision, Telemundo, they're all progressives or liberals, leftists, whatever you want to say. Okay. So why does this matter? Because what's going to go on is, that they're going to get rid of the people that they don't like. So they're going to get rid of off the radio. Like, here's one point where they talked about, um it goes here. The purchase comes amid years of accusations that Spanish language radio, especially in Miami, has become one of the most prominent sources of right wing disinformation. And here's what their example is. Democrats has long chafed at how at much of it, particularly in 2020, when talk show hosts at stations like Mambi labeled then presidential candidate Joe Biden a socialista who would turn the U.S. into a left-wing dictatorship like Venezuela's. This is not disinformation; it's an opinion. So what is it that these progressives want to do? They want to take right wing opinions off the air, and it's nothing new. It's nothing new whatsoever. Um, oh man, let me see something. I had it right here. Can I get you to see this here? Um, oh man. Okay, I'll have to come back to it. Let's see if I can get to it a different way. Um, So yeah, so basically, they're saying that it's about getting rid of right wing disinformation, but we already see what George Soros backed groups have done, like George Soros backed DAs, and see that the mess that they've created in our big cities, how it affects. It's not just hurting Latinos; it's hurting the country as a whole. And with this, basically, what you're going to see now is they're talking about disinformation. um Progressives, um the intellectual elite, they like to use the term Latinx, where Latinos, we can't stand it. Here's an article from NBC going, many Latinos say Latinx offends or bothers them, and here's why. It goes, it may have been intended to be more inclusive, but it actually can feel exclusionary to everyday people. And it's true. It goes, the reality here, there is very little to no support for its use, and it's sort of seen as something used inside the Beltway or in an Ivy League tower settings, said Domingo Garcia, president of the League of United Latin American Citizens and the oldest Latino civil rights organization in America. He made the comment in announcing the group's decision to drop Latinx from its official communications because it is so unliked by Latinos. That's the whole thing. We don't want no part of this. And you could be damn sure that this progressive funded radio station takeover, they're going to put in people like AOC, okay, that say that no, it should be used. You know what, Democrats, she's from New York. I wish moderate Democrats would step up and vote her out, because they talk about that the right have moved far right. When you see stuff like this, look, they're gaslighting you. It's the left that are moving far left. Here she goes. Here goes. AOC slams her Democratic colleagues for avoiding gender-neutral term Latinx and says language shouldn't be about re-election prospects after fellow Bronx rep slammed rich progressives for using it, which he's not wrong. Okay, and even here it goes here. A recent political poll of Hispanic voters found that only 2% of those polled refer to themselves as Latinx. There are some politicians, including the rail against the term Latinx. They're like, this is so bad. This is so bad for the party. It is. It is. Okay. But if Democrats, if this is the hill that you guys want to die on, by all means do it. Because you're going to push. This is the push. This is why they need to get rid of conservative radio shows. Because like I said, there is no conservative television network for Latinos. So they have to get rid of this because Latinos are leaving the Democrat Party in droves. Because why? Because of stupid shit like this. We don't want to be called something, and AOC wants to say that you're bigoted if you don't. No. Okay, this is something that gender ideology is something that's fairly new, and it's not widely accepted. Okay, Latinos don't want to chemically castrate their children. Okay, we don't want puberty blockers for our children. We don't want top and bottom surgeries for our children. When they're adults, then by all means they could do it. But that's the whole thing. When it comes to disinformation, the Democrats are far and above the most purveyors of disinformation and misinformation, and that's why they need these Latino radio stations to basically to spew their propaganda, because what their example of disinformation is just someone's opinion. Okay, when you see all the progressives that jumped ship and went to support Biden, and you can see his policies have been horrible to the business community. They've hurt Latinos. Okay, they've hurt all Americans, and that's why his disapproval rating so high. But that's what but it's not about this whole takeover. It's not about spelling disinformation or misinformation. It's about controlling the information. Let's see if I'm gonna switch over to a different screen here, share with you a different screen. Let's see if I could play this clip for you. It's from the Dan Bongino show. Let me see if I could play this here for you. Make sure the volume's good.
Check this out. It's consequential what is happening. We're going to see huge increases in factual information being delivered. Here's Simone Sanders on her MSNBC.
Check on to see if I can make this louder.
Democrat guy talking about exactly this: the purchase of Hispanic language radio to control folks for, Joe, what's the buzzword du jour? Misinformation. Which really, when the left says misinformation, what do they mean, Joe? Conservative ideas. So whenever you hear misinformation, they mean conservative ideas. Here's them admitting controlling information is the end. Check this out. This is consequential what is happening. We're going to see huge increases in factual information being delivered to Latino voters. As Jess said, Spanish language radio is an extremely important outlet in our community. And I think you're going to start seeing dividends. It wasn't just enough to say, hey, Democrats need to do a better job, because there was this huge media environment that no one had control over. And Jess and Stephanie took control of that. And I think it's going to be one of the most important things we see moving forward.
Just that is high praise from Matt, okay? He does not say that like...
So, as you can see, like I said, it's not about getting out information. It's about controlling the information. And they think they're going to be able to dumb down Latinos this way. But you know what? That's why we have the internet for. You could buy those radio stations up and The older people, the older Latinos are not going to tune in. That's the whole thing. They're already conservative. By you buying up the Miami radio station, thinking that the Cubans that listen to it, your ratings are going to go down the tube because nobody's going to tune in. And if you think some of these conservative jockeys are going to want to speak your brand of, progressivism, well, you're going to have to fire them. And you know what's going to happen? They're going to go online. They're going to make a podcast. And guess what? It'll be a popular podcast among Latinos. And while your radio stations are getting no listeners, and then in turn, no advertising, very little. So, by all means, do this, but it doesn't mean that you're going to be able to silence conservatives or right-leaning Latinos like myself. You're not going to be able to shut us down because we're going to come out. We'll just come on the internet, create a podcast, and there you go, and share it that way. Like I said, older people may not listen to it, but we'll get the younger Latinos. And guess what? You don't own our vote. We don't vote for you 95% of the way. That's why you play lip service, Democrats. You play lip service to the black community every 4 years. You scared them. You whip them up in a frenzy with the whole white supremacy, nonsense that you guys are always talking about. Latinos, we don't fall for that bullshit. Sorry, blacks, my black friends, but you guys, if you guys would just, wouldn't be bought and paid for by one party, if you guys actually switched parties enough, they'd take you more seriously. But they know that they got you to the point that you're never going to vote Republican. So, what are you going to do? So unless you start changing your voting patterns, the Democrats ain't going to care. They already have you in their pocket. That's why they're focusing on Latinos. Because why? Because we go anywhere between, we jump parties. We could go, the biggest fear of the Democrats is that even if the Latinos do an even split between Republicans and Democrats, they lose bad. Even with the black vote, if just 20% of blacks voted Republican, the Democrats would be shit out of luck. They would be shit out of luck. And we wouldn't get these, you wouldn't need, these recall elections in California if you people just voted. And when I say you people, I mean blacks and Latinos, because I know, people will twist that. So that's what I mean. Okay? Is blacks and Latinos need to stop voting just one party and vote and, vote for whichever candidate's good. And these candidates that are promising, look what their policies have done. These DAs across the country, with no bail, people shoplifting, and they're hurting the communities. They're making stores close down, which makes not only less work in those communities, but less stores for these people to shop at. But they're all excited about starting these radio stations. And, if the sale goes through, because I think it has to be approved by the FCC, if the sale goes through, I hope it bombs. Because if you take off if you take off the shows that people like to listen to, they're not coming back. They're just going to go to maybe some of those older Latinos, they'll learn how to listen to podcasts if they don't already know how to. And they'll follow the people that they always follow. So why should you care? Because as, right-leaning people, conservatives, you got to care because that's, it's going to, like I said, it'll just shift where these people get their messages out through, but it's going to make it a little more difficult difficult because they're going to take away the easier places where they already have a following. They just have to create a following somewhere else. Anyways, I hope you liked the video. Please like and share. Follow me here on YouTube and Rumble. And interact with me on social media or leave a comment. With that being said,